Can start.
Okay. Get mic and camera.
Is everybody on?
Mhm.
We're recording, okay, good. Calling the legal committee meeting, May 14th to order. Begin with roll call. Claire Cousin is
Knocking in the
just
door.
coming in. Jenny is here. Jason Foster, Margaret Morris. So we're going to begin with, the 11 Warren Street parking contract. If you could pull that up, Logan. So, this will be going to the, informal and to the formal this month. A little background here. As you're aware, the county purchased 11 Warren Street and is moving offices into that building. The Board of Elections will be there for the fall elections. The public defender is moving in there, and blanking on what the third office is.
Pearl.
Pearl, that's right. So one of the issues is that the parking lot in front of that, in the building lot itself, is insufficient to provide parking for all of the county employees. And so we had meetings with the last administration. Jenny came to some meetings as well, some parking committee people with the county to discuss the possibility of allowing them guaranteed parking in front of the building on Warren Street and also on First Street. The negotiations went back and forth. This would be guaranteed income to the city. They are going to pay 90% of the going rate for the reserved parking spaces. If our parking rate goes up, it's still at 90%, so their rate will go up. As I say, it's guaranteed revenue at the moment. That stretch of Warren Street during the day is not typically in use for parking. There are very few people parking there. But probably the most important thing, I think, from the point of view of life, quality of life for the residents in that part of Hudson, is that if the county employees have to pay for parking on Warren Street, they will be looking for parking on Columbia, Union, and on Allen, putting pressure on the residents in that part of town, who will then find themselves trying to park on Warren Street and so forth. So this is the agreement that was reached. Open for questions. I think it's a good thing for the residents. I think the guaranteed income is good for us. Do we wish that that building had not been purchased by the county? Yes, we do. It was, and here we are today. So that's it. Questions from the committee?
I do have a question. In the creation of this version, was there consideration taken for the church? And we know what parking looks like if there's ever a funeral.
I'm sorry, can you speak up?
The church across the street, Shiloh Baptist Church, has there been consideration taken for both congregation? If there's an event happening, if there's a funeral happening, we've seen what parking looks like when that church is full. Sometimes funerals do happen during the week. Is there some process that they could take to reserve some of the parking?
That's not part of this agreement.
That's what I'm asking to be taken into consideration, is that if there's a funeral happening at Shiloh, those 14 parking spots that would be on Warren Street would then make funeral goers have to park far away from the church. So is there something to be considered?
Also, I just want to mention for the record that there was another proposal made by the parking committee to them, which they did not agree to at all, which would have been the creation of the parking lot. They would line and pave it, we would meter it for people that were not employees. And that I thought would have been a win-win for everyone. But didn't happen.
My question is, it names the number of spaces. I assume we're talking from the border, their property line on the west and their property line to the south on First Street. None of the spaces in front of the
Yeah, that-
two-story building.
they mapped out the spaces and the number of spaces that they're going to have, and they took into account fire hydrant.
Okay,
So it's basically the full stretch on Warren Street in front of their building.
but not in front of the neighbor,
Not in
I-
front of
the
Kisuri,
old Kasuri
Yeah.
building.
So let me see,
not from Front Street up. Is what we're asking.
the parking spots along the parcel frontage of 11 Warren Street, there are 14, so it's their frontage. Okay,
And then it would be not
and
beyond,
4 to be located on First Street.
which I assume would not be beyond the alley that's behind them.
I'd have to see a map, I can't answer that.
And then my other question was about the handicap spot. It seems to be the assumption that the handicap spot that I guess is on Warren Street now. They mentioned a handicap spot. I assume there's one on Warren Street now.
Well,
But they're
no,
suggesting
the way that the handicap parking is working right now is that anyone with a handicap sticker or license plate can park anywhere
Anywhere they want.
and they do not have to pay.
But what they're saying is they're moving it off of Warren Street to their property, if I'm reading it correctly.
I'm
The
sorry,
handicap parking spot that is currently designated on Warren Street in front of the building shall be removed. And the county will provide on-site handicap parking.
that's, right, so that is, like, there are spaces on the site itself in front of the building. One of those, they will have handicap parking there.
But is there one on Warren Street?
It
No,
doesn't
no,
matter
because that's
because
gonna be,
you
that's,
can park wherever you want if you have a
no,
handicap placard.
no,
I-
that handicap spot is going to be moved in front of the building. So if you look at the building and there's parking area in front of it, behind the wall, there will be a handicap spot in that row of space.
Yes, but if a handicapped person who was not attending the county building.
Yes.
We're
Going
heading
to
to
the county
church.
building,
Mhm.
would they,
They could park anywhere they like on one.
But if there's no parking left and the handicapped person is looking for a handicap spot, that designation is gone. So there will be no designated handicap spots on Warren.
No, because you can park anywhere.
Right, but if every parking spot is full, if you don't have a handicap sticker, you can't park in the handicap spot.
Correct.
So if every parking spot is filled and a handicapped person still needs a parking spot, that designated area is not there anymore, is what the question is.
That is correct.
That's what he's
Yeah,
getting at. Like
right.
eliminating that takes handicap parking off of that block.
Right, but what I'm saying to you is, I get it that if you don't have a handicap sticker, you can't park in a handicap spot. If you go down Warren Street at any time of the day during the week, there are plenty of parking spaces.
But you're making that block inaccessible in the event that all of that parking is taken. Any patron of the church, First Street Corner Store, if they're going to visit a family member, there will be no designated handicap parking
That's
spots on
correct.
that block anymore.
That's correct.
That makes it inaccessible.
Maybe we could make.
The parking will be restricted from, I think it's 8 AM to 5 PM. And then after that, it is available to anyone in the city. It's also available on weekends. And they are making their parking lot inside the wall available to the city residents.
how will that be clear?
That there will be signage. They are putting up signs and they are going to be responsible for paying for the signs.
Margaret, just out of curiosity, have you heard anything about, because I haven't heard anything in a while from Linda or anyone else, Linda being my rep for the county, about the what this thing is gonna look like, because now I'm thinking about signage and blah, blah, blah. I mean, their signage is pretty ugly looking for the rest of the buildings that they
They're-
own.
They will provide signage to the city for review and approval.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions from the committee? So this will be at the informal and, then at the formal later this month. Any questions from the public? Okay,
Just looking at the map, and it does seem like the spaces match what you said. 11 on Orange Street and 4
right,
before Cherry Haven.
it's all on there, it's on the perimeter of there.
That's, yes,
Yeah.
I'm agreeing.
Okay. Next item is pocketbook, Hudson lease at the fire station lot. For those of you who were not on the council last year, we had done a lease for the pocketbook factory, to use parking behind or in front of the firehouse. The lease, you know, they paid the, you know, they signed it, they paid the city the dollar amount for the lease, et cetera. And then it was discovered that DPW and the fire department had not been included in the discussions. And the number of spaces and the area that was being leased to them was going to create problems for DPW with regard to snow removal and for the firehouse when they were having events, et cetera. So with the new administration, we revisited this whole lease. And DPW and the fire department worked with Pocketbook to identify the number of spaces that would be available for lease. So it's a reduced area. Let me pull up the lease agreement, the amendment. So it reduced the amount of space that they're getting, which will work for the firehouse and also for DPW. You know, they have agreed that they will work with the firehouse if they're having, you know, a large event. They will make sure that the firehouse is aware of it in case they have people going and parking over there to make sure it doesn't conflict with anything going on at the firehouse. They will be repaving this and putting in lines and so forth. Once it goes through, it has to go through a process with the planning board and site plan approval and so forth. So we decided to bring this amendment back, even though it's not a new lease, it's just modification of the old lease. And this will be going to the informal, formal this month. Addressing the parking, they can't put signage up or do any investment in it right now because they need to get a sign off from the planning board. But it really is kind of critical for the people living around the Pocketbook factory that this parking situation be addressed as quickly as possible. So that's why we want to bring this forward as soon as we can.
I am very curious why the DPW needs to dump snow in that particular parking lot. Do you know, Jason? I was thinking they could just go a block away and put it at Oakdale where nobody is really using that space.
I don't, it's traditionally where they put it, and that's what I
And
know.
that's why, because it's tradition.
Well, I think it does drain
Okay,
down to that, like they built the culvert,
okay,
or there is a culvert that goes under Glenwood
okay,
and that ravine right there, so I think the runoff. And I think they also improved that hill
okay.
with piping and things, so I think there is a runoff advantage,
Okay,
whereas that would be my guess. But it also does mention firefighter training, which I don't know if I've ever seen that, but this mentions not only DPW, but firefighter training.
Firefighter training. Yes, oh yeah, right, that was one of the issues that the firehouse had
Yeah.
with the lease that was put in place without their
It wasn't
consultation.
just DPW, it was.
No, it wasn't just you, no. it
are
was-
they doing
No.
the actual training in the lot?
No, they need parking.
Well,
They
something
just
just,
need
No,
parking.
they, whenever, they have events and training at the firehouse.
Yep.
And what had been agreed to by the previous administration had not been reviewed by either of those parties.
Yep.
And the firehouse was like, oh, hang on, when we do our training, we have people coming in and parking,
many
and we
people.
need that space.
Yeah.
So that was one of the concerns.
Yep.
Anything else on this from the committee?
Is 34 spaces enough?
No,
Well, here, in the agreement with the planning board, and I misspoke at our last full council meeting, they were required to provide 40 fixed spaces or to purchase 40 permits from the city for municipal lots.
Okay,
So in 2025, while none of this had been sorted, they purchased 40 permits in the municipal lots. They are still required to have 40 fixed spaces. So I would assume that this means that they will now need to make up the balance to come up to 40 by purchasing permits.
should we put that in somewhere?
It's not in the lease because it's already part of the agreement with the planning board. It's part of the final resolution.
Yeah.
And it says that they have to have 40 fixed spaces.
Okay.
again, for the record, I would just like to say that that is a 70,000 square foot building with 55 guest rooms, a bar, a bathhouse, a restaurant, and a 200 person event space. So if they do well, and, you know, I hope that they do, I don't know what the parking solution for that's gonna be. Say. I think we need some rules around this so that the planning board isn't left to just make these decisions by themselves and that we, you know, the neighbors in this neighborhood are paying for it now.
Yeah, are you talking about, I mean, if we're gonna inform the planning board, that's more about changing parking regulations.
That's
Yes,
what I'm
that's correct.
saying.
We have to change. I think
We have
do
to
need
change the
revisit
parking regulations.
regulations.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If we
But,
change the-
you know, we can't do retrospective. This is what was agreed to
Yeah,
with the
I,
COO and,
I-
this is what we got. Okay. Any hands raised?
No.
Questions in the room? Okay,
Margaret?
yeah, sorry.
Hey, Margaret,
So I'm gonna.
can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I couldn't raise my hand. I apologize. But I just want to step back to the 11 Warren Street.
Yes.
I'm not agreeing with the handicap parking being removed, as that parking is normally a little bigger for vans and that have ramps. So I don't know if that's a good idea that we remove that option off the street. Because sometimes vans can't park in a normal spot. So by removing that, we are removing accessibility and access for a van that's needs that spot. Now, another question is, on the weekends, if there's spots available at the county, will the church be able to use those
Yes.
spots during? Okay, and now is that
Yes.
is that written down somewhere?
I don't know whether I have to check. I will check that before we review it in the, I have to go back and pull it back up.
Okay.
That lot of times has had a change across it. I know that's now, but
yeah, I don't think so.
the limitation on the parking is only weekdays during working hours. And, it is open, all of that parking is then open to residents the rest of the time. Then hang on, they're going to install the signage. Yeah. I do not believe, Dominic, that it was put in there, but I do know that they are going to allow residents to use their lot in off hours, which, by the way, they currently do. I'm going back to this. So, the county does not issue parking tickets. Hudson Police Department issues parking tickets. And today, the county lot across from what used to be Helsinki, in the evenings, that was always available for people to park in if they were going to Helsinki. And that was discussed with them last year. But they do not restrict residents from using county lots in the evening, and they do not issue tickets. So that's not something that, it's not written into this, that they will make that available, but people have always been able to park in county lots.
Oh, because
think
at
current-
610 State, I believe there's signage on the fence that they can't park there. But maybe they remove them.
I don't know about 610. I do know that when Helsinki was in operation, the county lot across the street was where people parked. And it was never an issue.
Okay,
I
that's, I mean,
think
that's
currently
great.
11 Warren Street is blocked for construction. I don't think.
Right, at the
At the
moment,
moment.
it's under construction, correct? Yeah,
Get a hand on line from Ronald.
go ahead.
I want to bring this up. It may not strictly be germane because it doesn't refer to parking. I'd wanted to ask a question at the planning board in the past, but I didn't get an opportunity to, having to do with sound or noise. And the question had to do with a sound mitigation plan for the pocketbook factory, which I think was part of the final, agreement and the permission granted for the project to go forward. I could not find the text of this anywhere on the planning board portal. So my question was, if there is such a plan, does it relate only to noise or sound from events or to noise from the mechanicals, which I believe was the burden of one of the neighbors' complaints at the Common Council meeting. And
So,
I think, excuse me, let me just finish. This is an issue along with the issue of parking that perhaps should be brought up before the council and brought before the planning board. Thanks.
So, this was part of the, requirements in the certificate of occupancy. And, the sound mitigation was something that was addressed. So I'm going to talk first about events. And they are subject to all of the decibel, levels that are in the city code right now. It is an issue, and I understand what you're saying about not being able to find the explicit language, because the resolution finally passed, which Linda shared with me, which explicitly talks about the parking 40 spaces, but it doesn't go into all of the detail about the various mitigation efforts that were agreed to during the planning board approval process. However, the sign off on the certificate of occupancy, it was code enforcement affirming that this was in place, and they are required to abide by the noise levels in our code. So it's really a matter for code enforcement, and they are very active on this right now. I did a tour of their building about 6 weeks ago, and they showed me all of the mitigation strategies they have in place for events. They have a sound engineer on site who takes readings outside the building when they have events. They have buffer panels that they put in the windows to prevent the sound from going out. But it really comes down, Ron, more to code enforcement. And I do know that our code enforcement officer has a meter, sound meter, a decibel reader, and that he has been going around in the evenings. He's gone around the neighborhood, and he has gone to other people's properties and has done readings at different times during the day and the evening to evaluate their compliance with the city code. But
So is he
more-
measuring?
It really is something that needs to go to code enforcement. I know that Nick Fox is very active in evaluating the status of the sound.
Is he measuring
Yeah.
this? He's measuring the sound from the mechanicals.
He's measuring the sound.
Period.
You can't separate what sound you're measuring. So if I am saying that in my yard, the sound level is excessive, he is going and measuring the sound level in my yard to determine whether or not it is in compliance with code.
But that is also, that's the sound from the mechanicals. It's not just sound from events.
Well, yes, I mean, that's
And
correct.
separate
So-
the two.
Right, but if you go to a neighboring yard at noon and you measure the sound level in that space at that time, you're going to be capturing what sound that yard is experiencing. It doesn't have kind of different levels of readings for where the sound is coming from. Do you
Okay,
see what I'm
so
saying?
my question,
Just a
my
moment.
question was, is
Sorry,
there
just a moment, Ron, just a moment,
Yeah.
Ron. I know you both have, we have two hands raised from the committee. I know you both have questions and we'll get to you in a second, but I want to finish Ron's comments.
It's
Go
around,
ahead.
Okay.
so.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say what I read about sound mitigation on, in the final resolution seemed to have to do with sound from events, music and so on, and not have to do with the mechanicals. So I was wondering if there is anywhere, if there is a sound mitigation agreement, is there a text of this anywhere that one can read
Yes.
to see where is it?
In the code. Just Google it.
No,
No, but so there
Ron,
was no,
Ron,
excuse me.
hang on,
I know
Ron,
there are regulations in the code, and I think the regulations in the code have to do with sound from events. I'm not sure.
No.
I will look
no,
at it again. I was wondering, if I may finish, if there is a specific text of a specific agreement in reference to this application, which had to do with what was required to mitigate sound, either sound from events or sound from the mechanicals. And I looked at the planning board portal and I could not find any such text. And I was wondering if anyone knew if there was a printed text of this particular agreement for this particular resolution, not a general requirement for the city, which I'm sure exists, and probably also for the state. And, I don't know if such a text exists. If there is one, I would like to be able to read it. Thanks.
I haven't been able to pull it myself, but SECR covers that. The project got approved and they had to go through the SECR process, and part of the residential quality of life assessment that they're taking has to do with the noise of the mechanical systems that get approved in the application, if I'm assessing that correctly. Then in the SECR approval is where you would find that they met the qualifications for the application. So it wouldn't be a separate planning board text that is in the sound mitigation where they're considering event space sound. It's in the SECR process. That was a consideration that was taken when they decided that there were no. So that's.
Oh.
That's.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much.
And Ron, also, I had also looked for similar documents and gone back. And the final resolutions, the process, the approval process goes through multiple phases. And the real, and the code enforcement officer participates in that process. And so for the certificate of occupancy to be issued, the code enforcement officer has to basically attest that everything that was agreed to is in compliance. So that I also was looking for a similar document. Jenny?
I would really like to work together, this body, work together to maybe amend the code so that not just a particular decibel reading, but the duration of a particular sound is also considered. Because even if that sound is lower than the decibel reading that might be considered disturbing now, if it drones on forever and ever, it might drive you a little crazy. So I think that's an important consideration.
You want to add anything?
I did some research and New York City seems to have the best code on this. And they specifically address HVAC units at 42 decibels at the property line. That's their approach. So that would be
And,
a little more stringent than ours.
right,
But since it's referring to HVAC, it implies droning on.
42 instead of our 55 or
Well,
45?
after
It's
10,
like tonight.
we go to 45.
It's 45 at night,
Okay,
and it's 70 at one of our requirements, one of them is 70, I think, in commercial. It varies by location and by time of day.
I thought it was 9 PM.
It's 10 PM.
10
I'm looking, I have it right up here. It's 210-6 in our city code.
You got one more hand, Jeff Carroll.
Carol?
Thank you. I
think-
just wanted to go back to the issue of parking in county lots. When Helsinki was getting its site plan review and site plan approval, the deal with that parking lot, that county parking lot, was worked out at that time. It is not across the board that the county allows other than employees to park in their lots. And if you will notice, there are brand new signs at the parking lot that's used for the farmer's market that indicate that the parking is for county employees only. So you may want to add that to the agreement with the county for 11 Warren Street, because it's not something that they allow across the board.
Thank you. I will contact them and ask about that. When we discussed this with them last year, and this is simply what was said, was that they do not issue tickets. HPD issues tickets, and they don't have an issue with with non-county employees using lots after 5 o'clock.
I heard them say that too.
Yep. But I think, Carol, I like the suggestion of having that explicitly addressed in 11 Warren. I did not realize that had been explicitly worked out with Helsinki, but that was the standard, was to park in that lot for Helsinki events. Okay, anything else on, let me go back to my agenda. Did I see that agenda? Let's see. We talked about pocketbook. Okay, are we ready for Waterfront Village? Sure. Are we finished with pocketbook and 11 more? Okay. The Waterfront Village. So last month, the Common Council received a package, copies for each of us and one for our legal counsel, requesting a zoning change. Let me just pull this up. To let me find that. This is a property. It's a one parcel, but there are 3 different zoning codes currently there. This is a parcel down near the riverfront that includes the WIC. It includes the warehouse that Ben Payne is planning to have as a grocery store, Kitty's, some properties on Cross Street, parking area, a large area in front of the hotel. And he has a plan that he has presented yesterday to the planning board for development of a apartment complex, some upgrades to the WIC, I believe, and then the grocery store. And this petition was submitted to the council for a zoning code change. At the moment, there are 3 different zoning codes in effect in the parcel that he owns. And they are asking to have this changed to RSC2, which is City Residential Special Commercial 2, which allows for mixed use residential and commercial and would allow for building of the apartment building. So I put this on the agenda. Just at this point, we don't need to do anything right away. I just want you all to be aware of this, to look at it, and do whatever research you want to do, looking into the codes and what this would imply. It needs to go through the planning board process anyway, so for now, we don't need to take any action on it. But I just wanted to put it out there so that we have it on our list of upcoming things to consider.
Could you explain to me why it's for us and not for zoning board of appeals?
Because this is a request, it's, because I thought the same thing myself. The zoning board of appeals would address waivers. But if we're going to actually make a change to zoning in the city, that would need to go through the council.
Okay,
So that initially I thought, yes, this, when Ben first gave it to us, I said, why is this not just going to the zoning board?
right,
But we would have to actually do, and if you look at some of the exhibits, there are local laws that are in there that change the zoning for particular areas within the city, and that's how it happens. That's why
Okay.
it's on our desk.
It seems that Tanner's Lane would be the most impacted.
I believe that is true, but, I was unable to attend the planning board meeting last night, and I think that the planning board did bring up the issue of Tanner's Lane.
I think we'll need some legal advice on this.
Oh, yes, we're not doing anything with it right now.
Yeah, but
I'm
I'm just saying
It's
that,
on the agenda as we've received this, and in the coming months, we need to be looking at and evaluating it.
yes, but I guess what I'm saying, and I'd almost rather treat the legal as a consultant in this matter. Because if we're all out here doing research, I think it's a lot to consider.
Oh,
I'm suggesting, as we go forward,
yes, we will get, yes,
Ken Dow as more of a
Yes.
consultant to present to us to help us make the decision.
absolutely.
I thought there was a couple things in their proposal that, that didn't match with what I was looking at in the LWRP.
I do not have an opinion on it right now because, as you say, we need advice. I have put it here so we don't lose track of it.
Okay.
And this is something in the next month or two, we need to take a look at and we need to talk. Also want to consult with the planning board.
Sure.
But it's just
I think-
there as a placeholder. This is something we will be considering in the coming months.
And I think they imply in their application, the biggest impact of this is the height of the residential building, which they show at 5 stories, and I think. I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm just saying that's the biggest consideration on
Yeah.
how the zoning is handled.
Any hands raised?
Margaret?
Yeah, you got, Dominic, I think wants to talk, then Rob.
Yeah, Dominic, go ahead.
So why this is on the table, I know that HHA is looking for a zoning change also with one of their properties that they're going to be purchasing, that they're putting the townhouses on. It's currently, I think, single family. So I don't know if this can be incorporated somehow into looking to see how that can be done at the same kind of time, or how that can be put into play, since that's on the way to our desk.
Are you sure, Dominic? Because I think what I heard was they were actually looking more for a variance. And that was not coming our way, that they were looking, and they asked the code enforcement, former code enforcement officer, if it all could be treated as general commercial.
At the last HCDPA meeting, I thought that that's what they brought up, and that they were needing a zoning change because I don't know if they need a variance or because it's I think it's commercial. I can't remember what it was, but it's only for single family houses or something, and they're going to be doing 2 townhouses. So I mean
There might be two issues, because there was also an issue with their, where I think there's currently townhouses like, just below Bliss Towers. They were gonna put a 4 or 5 story building there. So there might be 2 issues going on zoning wise for them.
Yeah, I know is this property is owned by HCDPA, and that they're looking to purchase it, but they can't do anything, without changing the zoning in terms of moving forward with their plans. But I can check in more this month's meeting, but just to let you guys know that could be a possibility for a zoning change for that property.
Okay, I think I was talking about a different, the main property next to Bliss Towers.
Yeah, you're talking about the current property that they're gonna be tearing down and putting up the phase one property, the building.
Right, right.
This is a separate property that they'll be purchasing for the townhouses.
I understand that. Thank you.
Any other hands raised?
Yeah, Ronald.
Okay, Ronald?
Okay, I wanted to speak about in the various illustrations included with the Architectonica proposal, particularly number 13, which was the one that was posted on Gossips of Rivertown and which has the waterfront village sign. This seems not to be a realistic illustration in terms of the relationship of the two existing elements with one another, namely the caboose and the crane. Unless the caboose is supposed to be moved, because if you're looking at the crane from a perspective where the hook is to your right, you're looking down toward, basically down toward the train station and the river. And currently, the location of the caboose is not to the left of the crane; it's to the right of the crane. I did go down there and look at the scene. And unless this is intended as supposed to be a kind of capriccio of the plan, in which various elements are kind of, compressed together in a compressed space in a kind of foreshortened perspective, this is not something that I think can be relied on as a realistic portrayal of the plan. So I would, maybe it wasn't intended to be a realistic portrayal of the plan. But I would exercise a certain amount of caution when looking at these illustrations without having had the opportunity to ask Architectonica about it at a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now Matt McGee would also like to say something.
Yes. One of the concerns I have is for one of the outstanding features of our city is that we have wonderful vistas, and they're very significant. And the view of Mount Marino will be interfered with by the 5-story building and the mechanicals on top of it. And I think that this vista is very important. It was revered by artists of the Hudson River School, and it should be protected. And it's an important historic feature of Hudson, that this is a visible view and uninterrupted of Mount Marino. And I think we should protect it. And also on the zoning, according to their presentation, they only have a small area that needs to be changed. And I don't see why it couldn't be a variance instead of an all over change that could affect other areas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Margaret, can I speak for a second?
Nick, I'd
Margaret?
like to respond, just a moment, I would like to respond to the two comments that we just had. So I want to be
Yeah.
very clear on something here, Ron and Matt. We're not the planning board.
Yeah.
And I understand the issues that you're raising. It is not for us to evaluate whether or not this is a good project, not a good project, whether there are concerns, whether architecturally this is appropriate and so forth. That's really not our area. And the only thing that we have been asked to do in this appeal is to look at a zoning change. That's it. And we're not doing that tonight. We're not doing it this month. I want to see what goes on in the planning board. I have similar questions. My initial idea was, why do we need to do this? Is this not a zoning board of appeals issue and so forth? So we're just, putting this here. This came into us, a request for a zoning change. just FYI, we will be looking at this over the next couple of months, but we are nowhere near sufficiently informed right now to even have an opinion. Sorry, who was trying to speak?
And
Ken,
Sorry? Ken, yes.
it's
go
Ken
ahead,
Dow.
Thank
One
you.
of the things I was going to say, one of the things I wanted to say was pretty much what you just said. This is just an initial procedural thing to consider or request, and that it needs to go through an extensive review and consistency with the comp plan, all kinds of things that the planning board needs to do. So by no means is this, a foregone, enactment. So there'll be a lot to be looking at. Second thing is in relation to it, when people say, why can't they get a variance? Generally speaking, if someone wants to do a use that's not allowed by the code, it would require a use variance. And under New York law, there are a couple of things about use variances. One of them being that they're essentially barred in the case where someone purchases a property after when there is already zoning in effect on that property. Essentially, zoning use variances are generally granted only when someone owns a piece of property and is subsequently zoned in a way that precludes them from using it in other ways. But if the zoning is already in place when somebody purchases it, there's plenty of case law on this, is essentially barred from getting a use variance. There are rare exceptions, but that's so if this is something that is a prohibited use in part of that land, they're really in all likelihood barred from getting a use variance. And so that's probably why they're asking for a zoning change.
Thank you. Any other ones?
No.
Okay. See, I put Safe Streets, I added this to the agenda because it was loaded on for this evening. There is a resolution going before the full council on Monday relating to an application for a Safe Streets grant. The representative from the company that is working on this application will be present on Monday. I will put it at the beginning of the agenda. So this is just an FYI that this will be on the meeting on Monday, and we will have somebody who will be able to present the whole rationale behind that. Okay.
And similar to the last time, we're hoping to vote on it.
Yes, this is a situation where the deadline for the application is actually the same day as our formal meeting, which is the 26th, I think, the Tuesday. So we will be voting on this resolution on Monday. So if you would make sure that you read it, it has already been posted. Make sure you read it so that you're ready with any questions, but we have got a representative from the organization that's working on this application attending on Monday. Okay. Next up, old business. I had sent out the agenda earlier in the week, and Jenny asked to add, so those of you who are looking at the agenda that was posted, Jenny had asked that we add more information on payment in lieu of parking. She had some additional information to share. Her document has been shared electronically, so it is online. So I'm going to hand it over to Jenny.
So I sent this to you guys via email too. So you should have the new 2 pages, which is 6 and 7. And basically it just explains how payment in lieu of parking works. And so how it works is it's an alternative to mandates. So developers can bypass strict minimum parking requirements for new builds and renovations. It's a dedicated trust fund. So all monies that would come in would go into a trust fund to be used for transit and parking. Local governments can use the money to construct, refurbish shared surface lots, multiple level parking garages, district walks, bus trolley systems, etc. Calculation methods. Municipalities generally charge a uniform flat fee per missing stall. So if we were to put back into place some kind of parking minimum, which I understand the reasons for taking away the parking minimums, which were to make the city more healthy and to make it a lot more walkable and to try and push people into that kind of thinking. I understand that, and I understand that, providing parking is very expensive for developers. But if we did this in a way that was less, less than what it used to be. So, for example, what our parking minimums were previous to 2019, they were, one parking space per every 300 square feet of space in a building. But if we made that somehow a little bit more palatable to people and put something like this in place, we would have a fund. And if a fund for repaving, for lining, for signage, for beautification, for maybe an EV trolley. And for example, on the 7th page, I kind of gave some of my ideas about how this could work. So if we decided to put minimums back in place, I was thinking maybe it could apply to spaces that were over 6,000 square feet. So that would leave out most of Warren Street. So we wouldn't be requiring small businesses to build parking. Then I was thinking maybe it's one parking space per 400 square feet of floor space. Before it used to be, like I said, it was 300 square feet. Each missing parking space would require a flat fee of $10,000. Other municipalities are charging $15,000 to $25,000 for each space that's missing. Residential, we could do something that's a little bit easier than what I've been reading from other municipalities. Again, maybe it's studio. If you have a studio, it's 0.5 spaces. If it's a 1-bedroom, 1 space, and then for each additional bedroom, 0.5 space again. If for hotels, maybe we could do some kind of combination of these things. When you read through other municipalities' parking minimum rules and parking rules in general, they're very, very specific. I'm thinking we could leave this a little bit more open and keep it kind of simple. If you do the math, for example, for an 18,000 square foot building with 45 employees, that would be a contribution to pile up for $450,000, which would essentially give you the amount of money you'd need to buy an EV trolley and pave our municipal parking lots.
I really like the idea of having something different for residential developments.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything else negative about anything else you've suggested, but
Mhm.
that one there, I think the planning board has struggled with. And I don't think it matches the intent of the original reduction that was done in 2019.
Right.
I just think it's realistic that at any income level, jobs are needed and jobs require cars in this area.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
So I think your suggestion is pretty good in that regard.
Any other ideas? Or comments? Maybe I could work with Mr. Dow on this.
You put a lot of links, so I wanna look into the links and
Yeah.
the things that I'll look into myself are just like where there's, implementation challenges. I think that's something that people will care very deeply about. And then
Yeah.
how long have the other places that you put as examples had this in place and like, have they been able to get the alternative parking solutions up and running yet, or is it something that they're still building towards being able?
Well, I know that, for example, Port Jefferson, because our parking consultant was from Port Jefferson, and they are with the list that I gave you guys about the places that I had researched that actually do this. They're the closest in density to us and in population. I know that they are doing this and have been doing it, and they've done it with great success.
Have they built?
Yes,
other
they
parking
are,
lots so far?
they are building, and they do have transit available to people. So
Did they have transit before?
I'm not sure, I could reach out to Kevin and ask,
There,
but
there's a train station right in the heart of Port Jeff. It's also where the ferry is, and there's a lot of public transportation. And the density is a little different from our density.
I think those are the questions.
It's
of-
not, it's
Yeah.
not, doesn't.
Just like what
The
does,
harbor is
It's a harbor, yes.
packed and not
like what's
parked.
the measure of success so far in
It does-
these
it's not like
places?
well,
I think
It doesn't feel like, no.
when I suggested that, you know, we have these pinch points in town, and when I suggested that we needed additional parking, and the way to do that would not be to go out, but to go up. I know that even a small parking garage is going to cost us 15 to 20 million dollars. We never will have that money, ever, ever, ever. And even if we were to go out for grants to get that money, we're going to have to, you know, there's going to be interest on the money that we're borrowing in order to do it before we get grant money. So we need to do something in order to mitigate costs to us as a city. And I just thought this was a good idea.
So I think, before you, start trying to draft something with Ken, can you come up with some specific plans as to where in the city the money would be used? Like, let's say you are talking about municipal lots or whatever. Exactly where would the parking that the city would then create be located?
I have mentioned that before.
Okay.
The
So
lot that you were recommending for the county is a spot that
One.
could just be a generic.
there's also, we could do it in the large lot that's across from Amtrak. We could also do it, which would be great because we're gonna need parking down there for sure. We could also do it at
But
Seventh
make,
Street.
make a list of locations and spaces and so forth, so there's there's an actual like plan. of,
Okay,
This is, if we were to do this, this is what where we would be able to potentially add parking or, yeah, I mean, I think that would be the next thing, so just practically, where would this parking exist?
Alternatively, as I mentioned, like in the residential idea, that could be done without. That change could be made without talking about pylon.
yeah,
We could consider just a change to the way that residential developments are handled.
right.
And then the next one that comes to mind is hotels, which I don't have as good an idea on. I like this, what you've done for residential. Hotels, I think, are the next most challenging one.
It's the way that I was thinking about it is you could take the spaces that are, let's say, we'll take Pocketbook for example. You take the spaces that are not guest rooms and you make that one thing, and then you take the guest rooms as another, and then you put them together. So guest rooms would be one space per room or something, or a half space per room. And then the square footage would be another, and then you add them together and you come up with what you need. And it could be, I'm not saying that it needs to be, again, one space per 300 square feet. It could be less than that, but we need to do something. We can't just sit on our hands. This is,
We could do stepwise. If people agree with me at all about the residential ones being different. That could be not that hard to do.
Yeah.
That's not complicated.
Any hands raised?
No.
Any other comments from committee? Members of the public? You're very quiet. Any other business? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second, second, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.